so you can hear this and it sounds okay, but if they move away, it's still okay. But see, you hear how clear it is? That's really important, right? And it's extremely directional, so we actually can raise it up if we needed to, or down.
Hello. Just right here. Just right here. I just don't want people going over the cords. Hopefully this
My babysitter, my baby. Online. All right. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the school board meeting. I'll call the meeting to order with the Pledge of Allegiance, and the flag is in the rear. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Before we get going, Mr. Strong called me earlier and indicated that he will be absent tonight. So I'd like to make a motion to excuse Mr. Strong, and I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Pose same sign. Motion carries to excuse Mr. Strong 4-0. Dr. Finch alerted me to one change to the agenda. That's item 12. That will be stricken, and we'll have that at the next at the end of the next school board meeting.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, some illness
Okay.
for some of the participants in that. So we'll strike item 12. Is there anything else?
No other changes?
Okay. Communications.
All right. So I don't see Roger McCall's in here, but we sure like to show our recognition and appreciation for his service to West Valley. Roger is our teacher for the Open Doors program, so teaching high skills, high wage job for our students in partnership with OIC. So students are building tiny houses for the homeless and learning construction skills with basically on the job training. So Roger's been the leader of that for the last couple of years. He's served for 9 years as a teacher in West Valley, and he's retiring here in October. So appreciate. So let's give him the positive karma clap.
Thanks, Dr. Finch. Response to public comment.
Yes, we do have a response to public comment. At the school board meeting on September 26th, we had 3 parent and guardians express concerns about student bullying in the West Valley School District. The West Valley School District strongly condemns student harassment, intimidation, and bullying. School administrators are directed to follow up on all reports, both informal reports and formal reports of harassment, intimidation, and bullying. In August, all school administrators received training on appropriate investigation and documentation for policy 3207, prohibition of harassment, intimidation, and bullying, and also for policy 3210, non-discrimination. In addition, the compliance officer for the school district, Assistant Superintendent Stacy Drake, completes annual training in October provided by the Office of the Superintendent of Public Instruction. After the school board meeting on Tuesday, September 26th, the administrative team met the following day, Wednesday, September 27th, to review policy and procedures. An outcome of this meeting was a point of emphasis on the importance of checking in periodically with students who have been the victim of bullying and communicating and documenting via email the results of the check-in with the victim's parent guardian. Incidents of student bullying may be addressed by an informal complaint. If the informal complaint does not resolve the situation, any person, including student, staff, and parent guardian, may file a formal complaint in writing with the district compliance officer, Stacy Drake, using district form 3207F, formal complaint of harassment, intimidation, or bullying. In accordance with district procedures, the district compliance officer will complete an investigation within 5 school days after receiving the formal complaint. The district compliance officer will inform the complainant the results of the investigation no later than 2 school days after the investigation has been completed. And that concludes the public comment.
Thank you, Dr. Finch. On to item 7, or excuse me, on to item 6, which is our host school presentation. We're happy to be at Atanum Valley Elementary. Dr. Finch, would you like to introduce the program this evening?
Introduce our principal is Nick Hartman, and he has a team with him this evening. Nick, we'll ask that your team and yourself use the microphone here because we are streaming, and we want to make sure we record it. And Nick told me no PowerPoint tonight, so the board can stay here and the audience can stay there, and we can have this presentation and not have to worry about PowerPoint tonight. All right, Nick, take it away.
Yep. You got a lot of people excited when you said we're moving to item 7, but so I'm gonna so as not to be redundant, I'll let everyone introduce themselves when they come up. But last year was super fun for us. We got to in here have a celebration about some big accomplishments, and we had those again this year, and easily could have celebrated those accomplishments, but I went a little different direction, and I'll tell you why. The people up here will speak to some of the services that our students with the highest educational needs get. So as you know, first off, the district's behavior DLC program is housed at Atanum. And it's challenging, but I want to take a minute just to acknowledge the Atanum staff, not only the people you'll hear from, but when you have a program like that housed in a school, it can be a challenge for every classroom. All of our students in our DLC class are simultaneously placed in the DLC program and into a gen ed class. And it's been very successful this year in particular, building programs for these kids that move them into the gen ed class as soon as they're ready. We'll hear about that experience in a little bit from classroom teachers and people that go with the kids into the gen ed class. It's been awesome. In addition, we made some schedule changes this year. Part of that being that our teachers could collaborate better during their plan time and also collaborate with our SPED and sports staff. During that time, to make that possible, we've shifted how we do our SEL learning. SEL is a tier 1 instruction that all of our kids get. That's social emotional learning. The social emotional learning is necessary and highly important to our students that are that are receiving special education services, but it's also important to all of our kids. So we're going to spend a minute to talk about how that's being presented. I'll let our counselor and our teacher talk about that. And then also we've got a new staff member, Megan Graham, who now with 2 resource teachers they've been doing a lot of push into classrooms as well as pull out, which we find to be effective, both models. We're not going to abandon pull out because of the success that we have in our Walk 2 program. And she's also been building some roads into being in classrooms. That has been awesome for kids. So we'll celebrate some of those successes as we go along. But to start, we're going to go in this order. So we're going to hear about SEL. Then we're going to hear about the DLC program from our teacher and one of the parapros that accompanies our kids when they go into gen ed. And then we'll hear about co-teaching and some inclusive practices. So turn time over to you.
Hello, I'm Jocelyn Tipton, the counselor at Autanum, and standing next to me is our SEL instructional paraprofessional, Carrie Latimer, who has joined us this year. Yay. I'm just going to touch on what the transition to having SEL on our specialist schedule has been like. Carrie and I meet twice weekly on Mondays and Fridays to lesson plan. So far, we've been using the district-supported second step curriculum with a little bit of Kelso's choices added in so kids know what their choices are when they have small problems. We plan on introducing Mind Up later in the year. Under our former model, I was in classrooms alternating weeks for most of the year just due to time restraints. K through 2 one week and 3 through 5 the next. I'd be hopping from classroom to classroom, and it presented difficulties when trying to use all the resources that the curriculum had available. The most efficient way I found to teach the lessons was to sign into each teacher's computer when I got into the classroom. As I was signing in, I'd be giving a quick little recap about what we learned the last time I was there 2 weeks ago. I ended up getting about 20 to 25 minutes of that 30-minute time frame that teachers set aside for me. So I was condensing a lot. Now the kids get to go to a classroom that is dedicated to SEL learning. Carrie gets to use all the resources available and has time to teach the full lesson. Students are getting 45 minutes a week of SEL instruction versus 50 minutes a month. To me, this is exciting and feels really good as the counselor. Another cherry on top is that because teachers are not having to schedule me into their classroom time, students are also receiving more classroom instruction, which is a total win. This model allows us to teach the curriculum with more fidelity and also supports the students gaining access to the 6 skills outlined in the Washington State's SEL standards and benchmarks. It has also opened up my schedule to be able to help students build skills in a more targeted way. So far, I have started 12 small groups. I am also more available to help students work through conflict using restorative approach. Another thing that I've been able to focus a little bit of time and energy on, and I plan on doing more, is focusing on absenteeism. Last year, over 30% of our students missed 10 or more days of school, and studies have shown that if students consistently miss 10 or more days, that they're less likely to graduate. Of that percentage, 25% were chronically absent, meaning they've missed 10% or more of the school year, 18 days or more. So I am very passionate about finding out ways we can support our families so students can be here and build confidence in their abilities and receive the education they deserve. Having Carrie here to teach the SEL classes has really opened up my schedule to help serve our students in more meaningful ways, I feel. So that's it.
Nice job, Terry.
Okay, I didn't. No. We're going to talk about the DLC classroom here at Autanum for the district. I'm new to the district this year, but I've been teaching special ed variety of different programs for 22 years. I walked into this precious little classroom with all of these great kids and just completely restructured. We have every single thing in the room that a child would need to learn, right down to visual schedules and all of the curriculum. The best part about it is that all of the kids in our room right now are able to access the curriculum from their homeroom teacher, so that while we're trying to find the ways to meet their needs, what they need, I can communicate with the teacher and give them all of that information that helps that transition happen that much quicker. Yeah, and I can't do it without my staff. They have been amazing. They were here before me, and they know all the kids. So it's been really great. You want to talk about?
Yes, so my name's, oh goodness, Mallory, and I'm a one-on-one para, but I do work with all of the students in the class. And it's been really neat to see the kids go from our classroom to gen ed and be excited, like they want to be there. We, of course, in our program, we're working on the kids' behavior, but we're also working on their educational goals. And a lot of times when they come to us, they are so beat down that they think that they aren't good at school. They don't want to really be at school. And so they come to our class where there's 10 or less kids. There's 5 staff members, so they get a lot of one-on-one. And then I get to see the kids want to go back to gen ed. They're excited. They're constantly asking us when they get to go back to class. They're wanting to learn math. They're wanting to read. When they first came to us, they weren't reading. They weren't doing math. And so it's just been really neat to see the kids, you know, a lot of parents felt like they weren't good enough. And so it's just been neat to see the kids go from hating school to like loving school. And we couldn't do it without her or without Nick.
Can I ask you 2 follow-up questions?
Yes.
Can you describe how the students move up levels to the level of independence? And then if you could speak to how it works in the class when those kids are in there, what kind of reception do they get?
Okay.
So we follow a point system. So it's respect, responsibility, and safety. And they have 3 on a scale from 0 to 3. They start at 3. They start at the top. So we sat down together, all of us, the children and all of the adults, and said, okay, what does that look like? They all know what it looks like. So we mapped it all out. And so that way, then we can say, when they do something, we can say, okay, we're prompting you for points. And they understand what that means. And then they get rewards. They have opportunities twice a day to earn rewards and free time. And they love that. They get to pick their prizes. So, and then they're also being reinforced all times throughout the day. Whenever we catch them doing something good, they get tokens, and then they can use those to purchase things. So it's pretty awesome.
And so I don't know if you guys understand, we're a behavioral program. So a lot of the kids that come to us are the kids that are physical aggression, the ones, throwing chairs, refusing to do work, eloping, so leaving the classroom, sometimes walking out of the school. And so our job is to not only work on those behaviors, reinforce better behaviors, but also make sure that they're getting the education that they need. And so when they transition from our classroom to a gen ed, we do it pretty slow. A lot of it's like student led. We're either having the student go in for reading with their gen ed class once a day, or we're now learning this year, the best way to get them back into gen ed is maybe going where they're strong. So like the student that I work with is really strong with math. And so he's now going into his gen ed class doing math. And he's realizing that he's almost better than the other kids with math. And so he's like, I want to be here. I want to be at school. And not only is our classroom working, but the gen ed teacher, we're all working together. And even the kids' parents, we're all on the same page, knowing which direction is correct. And it's pretty slow. And so we're seeing the student success pretty high. So that's going into the classroom once a week, to twice a week, to then half days. But then they still have the option to come back to our class to feel comfortable, to get that reinforcement of that good behavior. If the teacher comes back and says, yeah, they did good that day, they got all 3s, then we're constantly reinforcing that good behavior.
I'd also like to mention that in addition to the SAL, the SEL that they get once a week with Ms. Tipton and Mr. Latimer, we do it daily. So they have more opportunities to reinforce those skills and feel confident in being able to do those things. And it's not something, if you're overwhelmed in a classroom of 20 to 30 kids, you're not necessarily going to be able to do that. So they get a lot more opportunity in our room. So it helps reinforce those skills.
Thanks.
Wait, I have a question for you.
Yes.
You mentioned it quickly, but I don't want to make it sound gushy or anything, but why you said is it key that Hartman is the principal?
Because he's constantly checking in on us, the kids, wanting to know how well they're doing. He's super involved, even though he's not in the classroom. He wants to know how well they're doing. He's constantly checking on us, the students.
He's our go-to if we
Yeah.
need anything, if we need any help. He knows the kids. He has strong connections with the kids, and they respect him. They know that he cares, so they're willing to calm down in a situation or walk with him or whatever it takes. They respond to him very well.
I have one as well. I think Nick asked about the reception in the classroom from the general ed students when your kids come in. Can you speak a little bit about that, or is that going to?
A lot of time the kids are just really interested on who they are, just like any other student. And the most of the kids that are in our classroom at Tandem is not their home school. And so they're not the kids that they see, they don't know what they did previously in their old classroom. They don't know that behavior that they once had. So they're not being judged on that. And so the kids are just open. That looks like a new student practically. They welcome them. I don't ever see any student feel not comfortable in that classroom.
When they walk by, they see our classroom looks just like their classrooms do. So they acknowledge, oh, okay. They don't
I
have.
think it helps too that when the parents push in with the students, that they're not just with that kid. Like sometimes you'll see them walking around helping kids throughout the class.
Yeah, I find when I'm in there, I'm not always helping my student. The teacher needs help with all of the students. So, yeah.
Okay.
Thanks, guys.
My notes are on my phone. So I'm Megan Graham. It's funny to get in front of some adults and I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to talk. You can talk in front of 500 kids, but put me in front of adults. So I'm one of the new special education teachers at a Tandem. I'm not new to special education. Inclusion is a huge passion of mine, and I'm excited to be here and working on practices with a Tandem. So a big thing is that the building schedule aligns for inclusion, right? We have a walk to read program or math, right? Those all are aligned so that kids aren't missing core, right? So every kid needs different things. So now we have that intervention time for kids to access. Sometimes they go to lab, sometimes they go to a resource room. So all kids are moving at the same time. It doesn't look different. And that also lets us meet the kids where they are, right? It's a fluid system. If they meet this skill, they're going to get to move up to this. So it's more fluid, and it just allows for that inclusion piece. Also, the PLCs are huge, which was already in place, but they're huge for looking at that data and looking at what teachers are doing differently to see where the kids are making growth in this classroom. What did you do? So that time is critical for placing kids into those groups as well for those walk-to models. So the other piece is the co-planning. So now with the added SEL, all teachers within the grade levels are able to have that common planning. So these are all things that we're still kind of working on, but it gives me the ability to go in and co-plan with teachers and look at what the needs of the students are. So we can look at the barriers and try and break down that curriculum and answer questions if they have a kid struggling. So teachers, the way the co-teaching would work, and we kind of use a lot of that co-planning when you don't have a special education teacher for every classroom. The teachers are the curriculum specialists. They know every piece of that. And I try to view my job as going in and looking at what do that specific student need, right? And being that learning specialist in a different sense. So I do not know every tiny piece, right? K through 5, but I do know really deep understanding of disabilities and what kids need and kind of those stepping stones. So it's been great. Teachers have been so responsive and like calling me and saying, hey, can we talk about this situation that's going on? I have a kid that's having a really hard time reading. Like we're reading at kindergarten and we're in a 4th grade classroom. So we talk about, well, are they comprehending those pieces, right? What are they getting out of it? What is that standard? So that we're making sure, right? They don't always have to be able to read it to still be meeting those standards. So it's been a great situation for me to take one of the days, and I'm talking really fast, I'm sorry. When I get nervous, I talk fast. There's one of my behaviors. So we are able to go in and really just break down those pieces. And then I lose my train of thought. So, but we can access, the kids can access, right? Through that co-planning and breaking down those pieces of what it is we want them to get from that lesson, and also letting them have that meaningful participation, even if they're 4 grade levels below where the other kids are. Also, I do have Fridays set aside. That's where I was going. I have Fridays set aside that I then can go in and meet with different teachers and grade levels and really look at more of the planning pieces, or what do your kids need that I can support you with? Or find resources. And then I also do get to do some co-teaching. And the co-teaching is actually fully pushing into a classroom, participating in the teaching piece every day. So I'm co-teaching currently with one 5th grade teacher. He couldn't be here tonight. Nicole was willing to come and talk though. So we do a lot of station teaching. So he might have a group over here and I'm gonna have another group of kids over here while other kids are doing what they need on independent work. And then we also do some parallel teaching. So he might talk for a minute and I'm gonna talk for a minute. We just have different ways of explaining things that sometimes meet kids' needs. I'm a big advocate that I believe that with our kids with disabilities, that consistency of every day, right? Not kind of that jump around. So really every day being there for a period of time to support those kids. Also, it's so awesome to watch in the moment assessments and then that remediation of realizing, okay, this kid's struggling, this kid's struggling, this kid's struggling. Hey, I'm going to grab these kids and do a small group while you're teaching this. So we're not leaving kids behind, but able to pull them aside, catch them up, figure out what's going on that they're missing, and then proceed to get them back with the whole group or whatever that situation is. I did ask Mr. Kerfman, and he said he likes how more individual needs are met. The kids, I did have a couple video things, but one of my favorite quotes the kid said was that he feels like he's getting a lot faster help and getting more work done. But that was also his con, he said, is that he feels like they're doing a lot more work. So it's just been really great to be able to support teachers. I do pull out math groups, but I also do certain grade levels, depending on the kids' needs, if found time to push in, whether it's 15 minutes here or there to support in the moment social emotional skills as well, or math skills or whatever those kids need. So I kind of have this fluid schedule going. So it's been awesome.
I'm Nicole Gonzalez, 5th grade teacher. So Megan actually has been in my room a couple times, but again, she said Mr. Kerfman, she's more in his class, but it has been beneficial being able to have, being able to do the co-teaching as far as from with just the kids. It's allowing more one-on-one time, more small group time, and also exposing the kids to different teaching techniques, which is a big bonus, I believe. And then again, like she said, the co-planning, co-debriefing, being able to pick each other's brains and seeing where one may be missing, she's picking it up. And so I believe it's beneficial all the way around. So that's it.
I asked this question before with co-teaching. Do you ever run into a situation with a regular ed 5th grade teacher where you see things differently than they do? And there's a conflict because this is what I've always done. as compared to what I see that maybe you could improve if you did this? A conflict? Do you ever bump into that?
So yes, right? Because we're all passionate about our jobs and our classrooms. And it's weird when you have someone else new come in. So right now we're definitely taking our steps. I will say the Atanum staff coming from another district is incredible about inclusion with their kids. I am finding they are so passionate about their kids that sometimes I'm like, okay, let's just, let's give it a minute. No, we got to fix it like today. I'm like, okay, baby steps. So they're just really passionate about supporting kids. So it's been awesome, but you're always going to somewhat butt heads. And that's just recognizing and having, a working relationship as well and being able to have those conversations. I'm always going to offer the advice, right? I may say, hey, you looks like your friends have really busy hands. Have you tried incorporating this movement when you're doing these things, right? Just some different instructional practices or UDL practices. But I mean, it is awkward, right? Thinking someone else is coming into your job all of a sudden and being like, hey, what's going on? So it's building a relationship with them first and getting to know each other and what those places are. So it's definitely, yeah, it's been great though. Atanum is very open to having extra support.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
So to wrap up, I want to share a story, but before that, so when I came here a few years ago, when we started to talk about inclusion, I sensed some discomfort and I read it wrong. I read it that staff might be a little resistant. What I realized is this is an extremely inclusive staff by nature. And what I mean by that is, like I'll give you an example. I wasn't going to say her name, but she's here. Tony Paganelli, those of you that know her, she's the one that sometimes I'll leave like at 7:00. And I'll look at it, I'm like, why is Tony still here? And I know why. In her class, you walk into her gen ed class and you think, what could you do if a teacher could clone herself? Well, if you put enough time and effort, you almost can. And so she's got groups set up. Her high kids are doing these projects that they're excited about and they're eager to go do it on their own with a little bit of instruction for her. And she's running a couple groups at very targeted levels. And I'll tell you, I think this is probably made worse by our COVID year off, but it's harder and harder to tell who your kids in SPED are and who aren't. And that it should be that way when you walk into a classroom that you don't know who those kids are. And to be honest with you, I think most teachers would tell you nowadays that your lowest kids are not the ones qualified in SPED. And that could be for lots of reasons. You've got a SPED background. That could be a lot of reasons. Well, what's cool about that is there's not one prescribed set of actions that a student in special education gets. So a lot of times when we evaluate a student and we've planned for them their individualized education plan, nothing's changed. It's just on paper now because they're already getting support in a walk-to group. They're already getting individualized instruction from the teacher with accommodation. So I have been blown away by the way that this staff approaches kids that have special needs. And I'll tell you, it's been rare. I've seen so many kids exit special education. And that's something Kelly Hatfield really could speak to. She's been here for how long? 25?
Yeah, 24.
24 years. And she's phenomenal. Kids they just connect with her. And what we keep seeing happen is they exit, they qualify out because of their success, and then their parents beg, can they still get services? And so that's a sign that things are going well, that kids don't feel like they're being excluded. I'm so proud. If someone was to say, what really makes you proud about the staff, there's a number of things that go through my head, but the way that they treat kids with special needs in particular, I'm very, very proud of the staff. So the story to end this with, one of our students that has transitioned in and out of our behavior program into class, I just want to say it's a lot of work. And when we talk about these kids in our DLC class, these are the hardest behaviors in the district often will end up in this class. So then to reintroduce them back into gen ed, that's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears on the gen ed teacher's part and the staff that support them going in. I have yet to have a teacher complain to me about, not one teacher has complained to me about a kid from our behavior DLC class going into their room. It doesn't mean they haven't asked for more support when they've needed it, which is what they should do. But one of our kids early this year ran up to me right when recess started and said, and he was waiting to tell me something all day. And he said, I've got a kid from my gen ed class that's coming to my house that's going to play with me this weekend. And he said, that's never happened to me. So he recognizes like his whole world's been opened up, that a kid that used to have to, you go to special education and that's your life sentence, is now a kid like every other kid in general education. So I'm super proud of him. Thank you for coming. It's not easy to do. And you guys deserve a big round of applause.
Yeah, well, just make sure we can recognize the presenters. Can you make sure, tell us again their names, that everyone that presented?
You bet. So Jocelyn Tipton and Carrie Latimer spoke about SEL, and then Shannon Ball and Mallory Wilson from our DLC class, and then Megan Graham and Nicole Gonzalez were the last two that spoke. Yeah.
Two things. When you talk about that kid feeling like he had a regular ed teacher or a kid come to his house, I think those parents would also feel the same way.
Yeah.
That they actually had a regular ed kid want to come to their house and visit with their kid. Not just the kid involved, it's the parent too. My question is attendance. We're going to hopefully talk about this later tonight too. You mentioned that you're still struggling with attendance. This is one of 6 elementary schools. What have you found so far to work to improve attendance?
Oh, I don't think we can even answer that yet. And when you say one of 6 elementary schools, it's one of thousands of schools in America that's struggling with it. It's an epidemic that I don't think anyone realizes its severity. And when we're talking about 30% of our kids, 1/3 of our kids are chronic absence, and that's with tons of intervention. One thing in particular that Jocelyn found in her reading about it is to focus on a manageable group and how can we make a difference with those kids. And so I will say our teachers can kind of be relentless pains about, you're not here. You need to bring your kid here. You need to bring your kid. I'm looking at Tony. You need to bring your kid here. And that can be effective. And then some parents also just stop answering the phone. So I think our teachers do a good job, but also I think Jocelyn making a personal connection, or one of us making a personal connection, starting with like 12 kids, saying if we can change the course of those 12 kids, and those are maybe the lower hanging fruit, the kids that we think maybe we can make a difference with, that could change the whole trajectory for them. And then after we see success, picking up new kids into that. But if you approach it as, well, we want to try to change 100 kids attendance, we do a lot of tier 1 things, but tier 1 things don't show them make a ton of success. Like you could reward your perfect attendance kids. Those aren't the kids that are going to be impacted. So we're still struggling through it, and we're looking to research and trying to figure it out just like everyone else, because it's a new problem in 2023 that I don't think the world even realizes how bad it is. Because this is going to turn into people that can't go to jobs every day and people that can't succeed in high school and college. So it's a big concern. I'm glad that we're focusing on it.
Thank you.
All right.
I just, I don't have any questions, more encouragement for the staff. So my son is now 18 years old, and he is in the DLC at the high school and has been in the DLC and DLC classrooms throughout the district. And one of the things that I could totally hear in your voice was the passion for inclusion and belonging at school. And that, from the parents' perspective, huge, because my son just wants to be like every other kid. Mm-hmm. Wants to be like every other kid at school. And throughout his career here in the district, we've had that sometimes yes, sometimes no. But and right now it's yes. I mean, he loves being at the high school, and they very much include him. And it's great. So I just really, and the early intervention, you didn't even talk about early intervention. That's so big. Thank you for your passion. Thank you for keeping, I liked, somebody said, hey, this is a lot of work. My son wants to work. And when there's that sense of belonging at school, Gavin, my son Gavin, does very well outside of school. And so that's that partnership between school and home that's really critical. And I was very moved by what you said, and I wanted to say thank you, and that I would have loved to have my son have all of you.
Yeah.
So thank you very much.
Oh,
That wasn't the point. That's a sincere thank you.
But that's the best compliment you can hear.
Yeah.
So just so you know, just so it's not awkward when they leave, I told them they could leave.
Anything else from the school board members? Okay. Thank you very much. Now we'll move on to item 7, which is the public comment period on non-discussion agenda items. We don't have any agenda items for discussion, so this is pretty much on any topic that the public would like to speak on. I have one person that signed up, but you know, it's not just closed to that. I'll open up the public comments section now. I'm not timing anybody, but if you could keep your remarks to approximately 3 minutes, we would appreciate it. There's 2 notes that I'd like to bring up. One, this isn't the proper forum to address concerns about a specific staff member. If you have a concern about a specific staff member, I would encourage you to make an appointment directly with Dr. Finch. Also, as I often say, this is a public comment period, not a public dialogue period. It's not an exchange back and forth. We will certainly listen and listen intently to the concerns, and we will respond by or at the next school board meeting. So with that, I have one person that has signed up, and then we'll take anybody else. Carol Blevins would like to address the board. If you could come up to microphone. Go for it.
I just wanted to make a request tonight. Just a little history. At September 6th of this year, Joe Kennedy, the coach from Bremerton, who prayed on the 50-yard line after a football game, and he was fired. And then so he went to the Supreme Court and he won his case. And so with winning that case, that ruling, it restored some of our constitutional freedoms at the school district and our religious liberties. One of those was that we could have prayer before school board meetings. So I was wanting just to make a request that we could consider doing that. So that's just my comment for tonight. Thanks.
Thank you. That was the only person that signed up, but if anybody else would like to make any public comments, please come forward to the microphone, identify yourself, and you may address the board. Okay, I'll close the public comment period. On to item 8, action items. We have approval of the school board meeting minutes from September 26th. Those were included in the packet. I'd entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
I'll move that we approve the minutes from September 26th.
Mr. Meyer makes a motion. Call for a vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Motion carries 4-0. Next up, we have 2 travel requests. 5th grade outdoor environmental education camp. What school is that?
Mountain View.
Mountain View, thank you. And Dr. Finch going to a national conference in February. The outdoor environmental camp is in May. So we can take those as a group if we'd like. Anybody like to make a motion?
I move we approve travel requests.
Thanks, Mr. Mokel. Call for a vote. All those in favor, please signify it by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same sign. Motion carries 4-0. Next up is the approval of Resolution 2310-734. This is an annual business practice for unclaimed property. I think it was a very nominal amount. 70. I was going to call him Dr. Connolly. Mr. Connolly has 7394 in unclaimed property to remit to the Department of Revenue. And then we have some funding and some,
This is two warrants.
two warrants.
$38.94
see.
and $35 for a
Got
total of $73.94.
One is, so the total is 7394, one's for general and the other one's for ASB. Thanks, Dr. Finch. Like I said, this is our annual business that we have to take action on. So I will make I'll make a motion to approve 2310-734. I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 4-0. Items arising.
I would like to ask Peter, where are we at? We talked was it last time or the time before about concerns about attendance. We heard it again tonight. Where are we in investigating and getting some information about why our kids are not showing up at school and what things we can do to improve attendance?
Yes, we've had our administrative team bring to the table some best practices, and that was with Nick Hartman sharing that he's found the best is to have a group that we can focus on. We do have Kristen Williams as a principal intern who's been gathering research as well. Our plan is to bring that back to the admin team and look how we can incorporate that into our care teams, which are ongoing teams that are looking at students that might need some additional assistance. And so bring that in where there would be progress monitoring on their attendance, and then do the intervention, working with families to increase awareness about the importance of attendance, and then just the hard work of making the calls and bringing the families in and doing the follow-up.
Have we figured out the why of the attendance problem?
It's not just a West Valley problem. So, we've been looking at the articles that are talking about across the nation. A lot of it seems to be a culture where during COVID, kids were not at school, and now coming out of COVID, there's sort of a culture, well, they missed school during COVID. They could miss a couple of days during the year, but it turns out to be more than just a couple of days. We're seeing this chronic absence. So over 10% of the school year that students are missing. And it is a concern across the whole nation.
And we heard earlier this year about how East Valley has a group that actually meets with the parents of the kids who are chronically absent. And also I heard a statement that prosecuting attorney would actually do something about truancy, although I doubt it. Have we looked into that?
That is on the to-do list. There was a request to look at other districts, what they're doing. And so we're still needing to get that follow-up done.
And on what the prosecuting attorney
Correct.
will?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And I know we see that data at the data summit, but is that something that we can get, I don't know if monthly, but quarterly? Is that something that we can stay on top of and we can be more informed on where we're at?
Yes. And as I said, bringing this back to the admin team, if we were to look at a core group of kids that we want to focus on, like our principal here, Nick Hartman, was saying, then do the progress monitoring, look at their attendance really on a weekly basis and monitor that. But that would be something that would be good that we could have that accountability back to the board, where you could report that on a monthly basis to the board.
I think we're missing. I think we need to look at, we're a changing community. And I think part of the reason that we don't have good attendance is that we have mom and dad having to work. My personal opinion, we have mom and dad having to work, and the kids basically are getting ready for school and are going to school on their own. And some of them would rather stay home and play on their phones. And the parents don't have a lot of control, because if they don't go to work, they can't afford the darn house they have.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure how we address that, but I don't want to blame the kids for something like that, or the parents. And I think we need to look at, there's different approaches, and prosecuting attorney is definitely maybe one, but by far not the most important one. We need to look at a personal approach on how we can help families to address this.
Mm-hmm.
We're lucky in West Valley in that we have a lot of preschool programs available. As you compare us to Yakima, we have 3 times as many preschools available for those parents.
Mhm.
And so at least we have that. But then the second part of that is you have to afford to go to preschool. You have to pay for it.
Mhm.
And I really think this is something that, as a West Valley problem, I don't want to worry about the whole nation.
Mhm.
I want to worry about West Valley. And it's kind of a special spot,
Mhm.
and see what we can do to improve it. Maybe other people might look at what we do as a model.
Mhm.
But I don't want us to, I don't like the idea that, well, everybody has the same problem.
Mhm.
We need it. We have a problem, and we need to look at it.
Thanks. Thank you very much. I think any other items arising? Okay, superintendent's report.
All right, we made the announcement in the electronic newsletter, and we have we'll have additional email announcements that go out to families. But just want to make sure everyone knows that next Wednesday, October 18th, at the high school commons, we'll have opportunity for listening and learning for family and community members. It'll be at 6:00 in the high school commons. And then after that, there will be a survey that will go out to families as well. So they'll be able to give input through an online survey. But if you'd like to come in person, everyone is welcome next Wednesday, October 18th at 6 p.m. at the high school commons.
Thank you. Board reports, board development. I just wanted to share with the board that last week I had the pleasure of meeting with Ava and Magnus, high school before school last week. I really enjoyed just getting to know them a little bit better. I wanted to do that outside of the school board meeting and just get to know them and talk with them. We're so lucky to have 2 just outstanding students join our group. They'll be giving their report on a monthly basis at the end of the month. But I did share with them that if the students have a concern where they would like to schedule an opportunity to have discussion as a school board, that they're encouraged and welcome to let me know so that I can coordinate that with Dr. Finch, and we can get that on an agenda so that we can have a dialogue on anything that is pressing. So they're wonderful. I don't know when they sleep or do their schoolwork. They're involved in a lot of activities, but that's great for them and especially great for all of us. So thanks for taking the time last week and doing that with me. So
To kind of piggyback on you, I know Mrs. Johnson had talked to you about attending WASDA. The last 2 years that I've got to attend WASDA, there's quite a group of student representatives that are there. And Erin Jones, who's the keynote speaker for the whole conference, takes that group. She's amazing. So I know she's presented that to you. I know it's tough to get away for a full weekend or with what you got going on in your life, but if you can attend that would be great for you to do.
anything else from the board?
I hate to bother people with it, but I think, Peter, you need to talk to us at one of our next meetings about the survey that's hit on Facebook about the student survey that we've done for years and years and years. What's it called?
Yeah, there's the Healthy Youth Survey, and
Healthy Youth Survey.
parents can opt out of that. They've been able to opt out in the past, and they can opt out this year as well.
Yeah. Could you provide us a background on that? It's been around my son took it and he's 40 years old. And so it's not something
Certainly.
new, but could you kind of share something with us at the next board meeting
Yeah,
about
certainly.
what that program is?
Certainly.
And Dr. Finch, maybe just circling back on Mr. Jager's item arising on attendance, maybe, I mean, this is a problem that we want to try to address as fast as
Right.
possible, but
Yeah,
we need to have a good approach to it. Maybe in one of the school board meetings in the month of November, we could have a time for some kind of a report back to the school board, and we can work on that in the agenda.
Yep.
Okay. Anything else from the school board members? We are not having the executive session item 12, so I will adjourn the meeting. It is 7:51. Thank you.
2 minutes late.
My wife's going
Really? That's what I understand.
My wife's going